Welcome back to The Daily Grind with Jen. I'm your host, Jen Hernandez. I have my big old beautiful cup of caffeinated goodness here with me. And I'm ready to get started, friends, because I have to tell you, it has been a week here at Casa de Hernandez. We have been unfortunately plagued by a series of technical difficulties, both figuratively and literally. This whole week has just kind of been marred by them. So for the majority of last week and a good chunk of this week, I have been battling with our printer. And unfortunately, I think this round might go to the printer. I was so frustrated. So the kids are doing this homeschooling, and a lot of the stuff that the teachers are giving me, it would be so much smoother if I could print out the worksheet as opposed to the kids looking at it, on my tiny cell phone screen or me rewriting it out on another sheet of paper. So I thought, you know what? I'll pull the printer out, dust it off. We generally don't use it all that much. Boy, has it been, it's been a process. So, yeah, go ahead and laugh at me if you must. You're going to hear me go on about my first world problems now with my printer. So first of all, I can't find the cord. I'm looking everywhere for it. And I knew I had it because I had seen it like a couple weeks ago when I had moved the printer to a different location. And I was like, what did I do with it? Oh my goodness. So I was like, you know what? Easy fix. Amazon. I love Amazon. I'm just going to order a new cord. So I do that. And then I'm starting to think, I was like, you know what? It's probably going to need new ink because it has been, probably well over a year, if not more, since anyone has even dared to try to utilize that printer. So I thought, all right, it takes black ink. I'll order black ink. Once again, order the ink. It comes in. Once the ink came in, excuse me. So the ink comes in, and then as I'm going through some other things in kind of the office playroom combo area, I actually found the printer cord. So I was very excited, plugged it in, put in my black ink, and then nothing. I was like, what? But then I also noticed, I was like, oh, it takes color ink too. It's been so long since we had used it, I actually forgot that it took color ink. So I thought, well, maybe because the color ink is low, maybe that's why it's not working. I wasn't too sure. So I ordered color ink just to get started. Order the color ink, put it in. So now I got a cord. I have brand new black ink, and I have all brand new color ink. I'm thinking I'm in business. Nada, nothing at all. So I'm pretty frustrated at this point. So I do what any good Gen X mom does. I go to YouTube, and I'm looking on YouTube, and I realize, oh, you know what? It's been so long since we've used it. This smart guy on YouTube tells me it was probably that I need to get a printer head cleaner set because they're probably all clogged up. Once again, Amazon, my good friend, comes through for me. I order the kit, get it in a few days, and set everything in motion, get it all done. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. I've done it all. Go to print something, and I get an error message. It says, paper jam. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There is no paper in this printer anywhere. So I'm like, taking this thing apart essentially. Go back to YouTube, watch a ton of different videos about how to basically take apart my printer, how apparently this is not an entirely uncommon issue with the type of printer that I had. I take this thing apart. I spend hours of my life that I am not getting back, people. And it's not like I don't have enough to do. So I was pretty irritated. And finally, everything just kind of came to an ugly head and something was going through a window. I was just at that ugly place and I was so furious. I had spent hours on this. I couldn't get it to work. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm so done with this printer. I know how to fix the situation. I'm taking a bat to this bad boy. That's how we're fixing the situation. So I was able to breathe and reel it in and realize that taking a bat to it probably wasn't the best example for my kids about anger management. So the printer is all still in one piece. In fact, if anyone nearby me needs a printer and you are willing to take on the paper jam error, let me know. You can totally have it. If not, this bad boy is so going into a garbage can at the end of the week. I digress though. So my great solution to the problem was to simply order a whole brand new printer, which I know is absolutely insane and ridiculous, but I am telling you, I was so frustrated in that moment. I would have paid almost anything just to get something to print. And I really wanted it to print on this printer because I had spent so much time and energy on it, but I have just decided, you know what? I refuse to let that printer take any more of my time. I am not going to let the printer rule me. No, no, no. I am better than the printer. I will rise above and I will buy a new one. I will show that printer. I will put him out of service. So, yeah, technical difficulties. It has been a challenge. In fact, I'm super excited because the new printer, which is definitely an upgrade from the old one, should be arriving tomorrow. I've already ordered extra toner, so I'm good there. And hopefully everything will work out fine and we'll be able to incorporate this printer in with some of the homeschooling activities that they've been sending us so that it's more legible when the kids see it, as opposed to Elena asking all the time, well, Mommy, I can't read it. What does it say? And I'm just like, ah. So yeah, I've got bad handwriting too. But the other technical difficulty that has really sucked up a ton of time and is actually why this is also getting out late to you guys, so sorry about that. We had an upgrade that Mike ended up needing to do to the studio computer in order to get some new equipment all integrated properly. Unfortunately, Catalina, which is the OS operating system that he had to upgrade to, does not like to talk to Pro Tools. And for any of you that are in music production or audio sound tech, you know Pro Tools is kind of important to music production. It's the software that Mike has to utilize in order to record anything for the studio. In fact, it's the software that he utilizes to record the podcast as well. So Pro Tools is vital to Studio 73 Productions. And the fact that Pro Tools didn't want to talk to Catalina was a huge problem. So Mike spent, and I mean just a ton of time on this. I even spent a ton of time, although my time was more like in the supportive role, like, hey, I'll come hang out with you while you're doing this because I'm not the most tech savvy. Probably not going to be particularly helpful either. But anyways, I mean, we spent just so much time trying to figure out how to get the two to talk, then to figure out, okay, it looks like they're never going to talk. So how do we get the old operating system back? So ultimately, the old operating system is now on the computer. Mike had to reinstall Pro Tools, but nothing is working the way it's supposed to. So a ton of what's called plugins that he had ordered are not, like, for whatever reason, the licenses aren't registering properly, so he can't use them. A lot of the tracks that he had recorded from a song that he was working on that was almost done, he can't access them, can't find them anywhere. They essentially had to get deleted. Essentially, the computer got, like, I don't know if reformat is the right word, but basically wiped clean in order to get the old operating system back on. And then he had to reinstall everything. Our Microsoft Word won't work. It says that we need to now buy a subscription when, we had an old Word that we were using and we had upgraded it along the way. But now it says we tried to put our discs in to get it to work and now that's not working. So yeah, my notes from the show, they're in my chicken scratch handwriting that no one can read. It's nothing's typed out. It's just a mess because we can't get our Word to work. And we also have a backup server that Mike utilizes, and he had backed up everything from the Mac on Time Machine on the server before he did Catalina. And so we were thinking, well, we'll just restore back to that. It'll be okay. But for whatever reason, we cannot get the server those files. Like, we can't access them, can't see them. He has spent so much time with the people from the server as well as Apple trying to figure out how to get the two to talk to each other, and it's just not happening. So decisions needed to be made, and we have employed a data recovery specialist who hopefully will be helping us, but it's going to require yours truly to figure out how to put some software on so that he can remote access things. I am sure I will manage to mess this up. I'm pretty nervous about it, but hopefully it will all ultimately work out. But it has really just taken over a huge chunk of our week and has really put an extra stress on the week as well. In fact, even the kids are having technical difficulties with school as well. It's following us everywhere. So the kids were finally able to get their iPads from school issued to them so that we could use them while we're homeschooling, which is really great, and we're really excited about that. Wish they would have done it, weeks ago, but going to take what we can get. So they released the iPads, we picked them up, the kids are super stoked, they get to have their iPads, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm realizing in the emails that the teachers are sending, that there are certain locks on the iPads that the kids can't access certain things, which is, fine with us. But one of the things that has been designated as unable to download onto the iPad is Facebook. Normally, I would not have an issue with that. I don't let my kids do social media. In fact, our older kids, the rule in the house was, hey, you can't just have a social media account. You need to ask for it. We want your passwords. Social media kids, I understand that you have to be careful. So I wasn't really upset when the school said that until I realized, well, wait a second. My daughter, her classroom has a Facebook group, and the majority, and by majority, I mean all of the assignments that the teacher has been assigning to us is through Facebook. So I still need to use my personal cell phone and give it to my daughter to figure out how to get her assignments and then go back to the iPad to try and access some of the apps. But of course, all of the links that we need are linked in the Facebook group page, which is on my phone and not her iPad. And that's right, we can't get those links to the iPad. So I was just very frustrated. Then we were starting to go through and do some of the assignments. And one of them is this thing called AR. It's where Elena has to read a book, and then she has to go on to a separate app and answer a number of different questions about the book, and then she gets scored on it. And if she scores high enough, she gets what are called AR points. So she's really excited. She's going to go in. We finally figure out how to find the right books that we're supposed to be doing. She's going through, she's reading them, and now we're trying to go back and take her AR test. And she's like, Mommy, this is my username and password. It keeps denying it, saying it's wrong. We managed to get locked out. So then I'm emailing the teacher, trying to figure this out. And at this point, I'm very frustrated. I will say I was very grateful to the teacher because she emailed me back right away, gave me the correct username and password, and happened to mention in the email, when the iPads went home, for whatever reason, they had to change the passwords in order to enable those apps to be accessible basically off of the school's wireless network, connected to something else. I'm not too sure why. So the school knew this. They knew that they had to change every single kid's passwords. And the school did this. The school changed every single kid's password so that they could access it at home and didn't tell anybody. So that was so frustrating to me because I'm like, we spent time figuring this. And Elena was so insistent, like, no, Mommy, this is my password. And she was right. It was her password. Too bad they had changed it and didn't bother to tell anyone. So I was very frustrated with that as well. And then David last week had a Zoom meeting with one of his paraeducators. And this was before we had gotten the laptop issued, not the laptop, the iPad issued to us. And so he's doing his Zoom sessions on my cell phone. So poor kid has to sit there and, with my iPhone screen, and he's trying to see the teacher, and the teacher is putting up, this work on the screen for him. And he's squinting at it, trying to look at it right in his face. And it's a small screen, so it's irritating to begin with. But anyways, we log on for our Zoom meeting and silence. Nothing. And she's trying to talk. We can't hear anything. we're talking. It's very clear that she can't hear us either. So then her and I start engaging in the chat session, and we try and troubleshoot it for a while. In fact, I exit the meeting, try to come back in. We're doing all this stuff, trying to figure out why there is no sound, but there's just no sound. So I felt so bummed, and I know she was disappointed too, but ultimately there really wasn't anything that we could do. So he missed out on one of his sessions. Come to realize probably about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes later, I was, messing around with my phone, and I realized, oh my gosh, would you look at that? My phone is connected to a Bluetooth device, and I didn't even realize it. So I have some wireless earbuds that a lot of times I will listen to music while I work or while I'm doing dishes, or I listen to podcasts to, and my phone had connected to one of my wireless earbuds. So all of the sound was going through that earbud, and I have no idea where it was. It was on like the kitchen table, like the counter or something. So yeah, that was my fault. Not my greatest moment. I was so disappointed and frustrated by it. With everything that was going on, I was just like, could we just get a win? Can we just get one win? And I gotta say, we did get a win. Yeah, you guys might laugh, but it actually was a high point in our week, and it made me laugh, and it brightened kind of the atmosphere here. So you may have noticed I did not give you a TP update when we started, and that was so that I could share something good with you later on. No, there is no toilet paper in the store for me to purchase anywhere. It doesn't matter how many stores I go to or how frequently I go. It's just not there. It's like they see me coming and they hide it. I don't know what's going on. But I got mad love for the folks at Forelli's because our Sunday tradition, we don't do it every Sunday, but frequently on Sundays, we will order from Forelli's Pizza. So I decided, okay, we'll order from Forelli's. Mike was kind of craving it. And I order it in advance. I drive down there to go carry it out. And they have this table kind of set up towards the entryway. And there are like kid menus with crayons there that, take one if you have a kid at home. And there was, some other things there, like promotional type stuff. And then in the corner of my eye, I saw like this really nice stacked pyramid of toilet paper rolls. And I was wondering, I was like, is that a joke? And I asked her, I go, is that for real? She's like, yeah, there's a big sign that says, take one if you need one. And I was like, you're serious? She goes, oh yeah, would you like one? I was like, yes, please. I felt so ridiculous asking for a roll of toilet paper, but we were getting really, really low. So I was like, yes, please. So I am happy to say we got a roll of toilet paper. It's the little things, people. Man, I was so excited. I go out to the car. I position the pizza on the passenger seat, and stacked beautifully on top of the pizzas is the wrapped roll of toilet paper. And I take a picture and I send it to Mike, and he's like, is that for real? Is that from Forelli's? And I was like, yeah. So it made us laugh, but it just, it did kind of lighten the mood for us, but it also totally made the day for us as well. So we were super excited about that. And to follow up with that, I had gone online to Grove.com. So I get the majority of my cleaning supplies through Grove. I really like some of the stuff that they have. I'm a big fan of the Mrs. Myers stuff, and I like the 7th generation stuff. What I really like about Grove is because a lot of times not a lot of times, I don't like going to the store. I don't have time for it. It just drives me nuts. I'd much rather order something online and have it show up to the house and save that time and utilize that time in a much more beneficial way for me and my family. So I do use Grove to get a lot of my cleaning supplies that I like. And they had toilet paper in stock. So for several times I'd gone on to possibly order it, it was out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. And in fact, the last couple times I've done my Grove orders, there have been a handful of items that I've wanted that have been out of stock. So the fact that the toilet paper was in stock and I could simply just order it and have it show up on my doorstep in a few days. I was so happy. There is a delay in shipping with them right now because of COVID-19, but I will take the delay because it's really not all that big of a deal. It's like 4 or 5 days as opposed to like 2 or 3 days. So I will tell you, we are now the proud owners of a nice little box style of toilet paper. So if y'all need any, I can probably spare a square. So let me know. So that was probably one of the better things that had happened this week. Because, it's just with all these little technical difficulties and glitches that we have been having, there have been a couple of different moments where part of me just really wanted to hide in the corner, just kind of rock, embrace the denial, pretend that like everything that was going on and was going wrong wasn't really happening. And the reality is, whether I'm rocking in a corner or I'm dealing with it, life is still coming at us. It's not slowing down. Everything that needs to get done is still needing to get done. And it did remind me of when I was in college, my roommate, Summer, our freshman year, she had bought this shaggy blue chair from, I want to say it was like the Goodwill in town. And I remember with her carrying it across Ankeny Field, with this big blue chair, like putting it into her dorm room, because we weren't roommates that freshman year, but we roomed together every year thereafter. And that blue chair is still at my mom and dad's house. I don't really have room for it in my house. I just didn't have the heart to see it go after graduation, and she was moving out of state, and so she was not going to be able to take the blue chair with her, so she gifted it to me. But I can distinctively remember, I want to say it was junior year, maybe sophomore year. Yeah, it was junior year because we were on the first floor apprentice. So junior year, I remember it was finals week. I think I had been up like the majority of the night, if not all night. And I was just spent, just to that breaking point where one other little thing going wrong, and I was just on the brink of snapping and sitting in that blue chair and just rocking in it and just crumbling, right? And having her kind of walk me through and be like, you know what? It's going to be okay. Like, you're going to get through it. It's all right. And just when I look back on that time period, the things that felt so big and so stressful, I have to laugh at myself now. Like, I was worried about a final. And I'm not saying that a final isn't significant and it isn't important and it doesn't have a big impact. But I mean, let's get real here. It's just a test. I mean, it's just a paper. It's just a final. When I look back and I think about the times in life where I have truly been tested, I would not have picked that moment. Like, that would not have been the moment that I would have said, oh yeah, no, that was a big test. And boy, that was hard and I really struggled. I look back at it now and think, wow, perspective is huge, because in that moment, my, 20-something-year-old self just felt like that was the biggest thing facing me. And it just felt so overwhelming. Flash forward, 15 years, and there were so many more things that we were dealing with, that I was dealing with. And I'm like, man, I would love for my biggest problem in life to be a final. Being worried about my son, about his health, things that he had going on with him. That was real worry. That was real challenging, kind of walking through that season. But anyways, all of the technical difficulties made me think of the blue chair, because it was kind of that safe place for me when I was in college, that safe place to go to where you could kind of rock in the corner and to some extent be in a little bit of denial. But the reality of it was a safe place to just breathe. If you just needed to breathe, to just cry, to just let it out, whatever it was, that's what the blue chair kind of represented to me and to Summer, and actually to a lot of our girlfriends too. Or, if they had a bad day, it was not uncommon to see one of the girls rocking in the blue chair, because that was the safe place. And And with everything going on with COVID-19 and quarantine and uncertainty, one of the things that my work has done is that they have really tried to make accessible for all of us employees tools to deal with the stress. So they have been hosting or maybe not hosting, but they've been making available to us a number of different webinars and trainings about how to manage stress during challenging times, how to manage parenting and work and school work from home. I did that one yesterday. The others were kind of also like along the lines of like mindfulness and, just learning about mindfulness and giving you trainings. In fact, one of the things that they're also doing is if you want to, you can log on at a particular time I think it's every day. It might not be every day. It might just be once a week. I'm not too sure. And you can walk through a mindfulness exercise with a gal that's kind of, that's what she does. She's an instructor in regards to mindfulness. And so I went to her main webinar, just kind of like explaining mindfulness, what it is. And really what it kind of boiled down to, and when I was looking at it, was taking a moment to just breathe. That seemed to kind of be the theme of a couple of different webinars that I've seen the last couple days that I've looked at. Taking that moment to just pause, to just breathe. In fact, one woman said there is power in the pause. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that. Yeah, I guess there is. Without even realizing it, in some ways, I still kind of want to curl up in the blue chair some days. And I don't have the blue chair here to curl up in. But confession time. So I did kind of go hide in the corner the other day, but it wasn't exactly the corner that I was hiding in. It was really more go hide in the studio. So I wanted to record the podcast. Mike had finally been able to get Pro Tools reinstalled on the Mac, and he had everything set up for me. So all I had to do was come in and press spacebar. And so I was finishing up putting together my notes, and then I was going to do recording. So I finish up my notes, I come in to record, I hit spacebar, and it asks for a password. A password, I have no idea what it is or why it's asking for a password because it has never asked for one before. And I was just, at that point, I was just spent. I was like, no, I'm not dealing with this. I am not dealing with this because he is trying to sleep. He's only going to get a couple hours of sleep, so I really can't wake him up for that. I'll just have to get it later and record later. And I was getting ready to go collect my stuff and go downstairs because I still had some homeschooling I needed to do with the kids. I still had a few hours of work that I wanted to log in at some point that evening and do. I still needed to make dinner. I still needed to do the dishes from yesterday. I still needed, still needed to fold some laundry. And there was just so much that still needed to get done. And I just couldn't do it. It was just like, for whatever reason, not knowing that password just kind of messed with my world in that moment. I was like, are you kidding me? Like my whole show was premised around these technical difficulties that I have been plagued with this week. And yet here is one more technical difficulty in my path. I was like, this is so ironic in an ugly, ugly way that I was like, it's a sign. It's a sign that the good Lord does not want me doing my podcast right now. In fact, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm probably supposed to go down and get 1,020,000 things done because that's kind of what, where I am right now, right? Like I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an employee, but I'm also still an individual and I need a moment to breathe every once in a while. So that's what I did. I was in this stubborn space and I was like, no, I'm not going down there to deal with everything, even though I know I need to. I'm just super frustrated. I'm just going to take a moment and I'm just going to breathe. And I had my cell phone up here with me. So I had put on some music and was just that I like, and I was just listening to, and then I had my Bible up here with me too. And I was like, all right, we'll see what you got. So I start flipping through it and reading through it and looking for something. I wasn't even too sure what I was looking for or what I wanted. And I came across Matthew 11:28, and and I'm familiar with it, but I just kind of settled in on it. And it's Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And it just really resonated with me in that moment because, lately I have been feeling incredibly pulled in multiple directions. And every time I turn around, it seems like as soon as I get a handle on one of my roles and I feel, good about how things are going there, it starts slipping somewhere else. And that then throws everything else into whack. And, I feel bad about that. I feel guilty about that. I feel inadequate about that. All these different range of emotions. None of them are particularly positive ones either. And it's kind of defeating in those moments sometimes when you look around and you're like, yeah, there's just not enough hours in the day to make it all happen in a healthy and healthy and happy fashion, and still be emotionally available for, my family, for my kids, for my husband, my poor husband who, I try to make him a priority and give him lots of time. But the reality is the time that he does get, either he's exhausted or I'm exhausted. So neither one of us is really our best selves in those moments when we're tired. And it gets to be a little old some days. So I just really kind of settled in on that, all who are weary and burdened, because I have been feeling weary. I have been feeling worn out, trying to fit in all of my hours for work, trying to fit in not even all of the activities for the homeschooling for the kids, because I just kind of looked at it and was like, well, yeah, that's just not going to happen. Like all the stuff that the teachers think is that I can do with my kids and still work a full-time job, that's not going to happen. Because you know what? They don't do that either. When they are at school, they are teaching their students. They're not teaching their students and going and teaching their own kids at the same time. So I don't feel bad that it's not all happening. Let me rephrase that. I do feel bad that my kids aren't getting the time that I want them to have, the time that they should be having on education, but I refuse to feel bad about the fact that what they are assigning is an unrealistic expectation for a full-time working parent. I don't feel bad about that. It is an unmet expectation. It is an unrealistic one, and I do not anticipate being able to meet it. It's just not going to happen. And I have accepted that. And so what I'm trying to do is figure out, what can we do and what can we do well? And I think that we are getting there, and it has gotten better. But, there are little road bumps along the way with that. And the end result of it is my kids are weary. I am weary. Mike is weary. I'm feeling burdened by all of it. And I'm sure my kids are, and I'm sure Mike is. My kids maybe not burdened. I think they're feeling caged. They are feeling a little caged these days. But the idea that God is telling me, look, I'm not saying I'm going to fix your situation, because the verse doesn't say you're weary and burdened, and I'm going to fix it all. No, it says, and I will give you rest. And I was like, And I just kind of thought on that for a moment. I was like, and I will give you rest. Yeah, rest would be really good right about now, because without the rest, my ability to kind of emotionally handle everything and not go crazy or not go angry immediately or frustrated or short fused, lack of patience, all of that stuff is key. And so I'm going to continue to go to him, to go to God, because I am weary and I am burdened. And he's telling me he's going to give me rest. And it's true. This was a couple days ago when this all happened. And another technical difficulty. Actually had to re-record the podcast again. I know. So yeah. But he has given me rest since that time, since I kind of took that little time out with just him and me and the Bible. There have been opportunities for sleep. And granted, I wish that there would have been more or at, better times, but my body needed the rest. And so it took it. And for that, I am thankful. But our time is about up for today, my friends. So I would, however, love to hear from all of you how you guys are doing these days. If you're having technical difficulties or if you're having, other challenges, please feel free to email me at TheDailyGrindWithJen@gmail.com. Or you can get a hold of us at the show's Facebook page, which is The Daily Grind with Jen. Also, you can tweet us at DailyGrindJen. And I also just want to give a quick thank you to Studio 73 Productions for sponsoring today's show. And hey, if you like the show, hit the subscribe button, comment, or you can also support us on Patreon. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you guys have a better week than I did this last week. And I will see you next week, my friends. Bye.